David Beckham is a massively polarizing name in our sport. Some people think he was a free kick merchant who was only rated because of his fame. Others regard him as one of the best Englishmen to ever play the game. The truth is, he's actually very underrated. It takes serious ability and mental fortitude to play for Fergie's Manchester United for a decade. People have to chat about aura nowadays. Well, any man that can pull up to the royal family wearing a do-rag and a vest shirt gets my full respect. This is a man who was the third most googled human being of the 2000s, only behind Britney Spears and Osama bin Laden. But as I said, we can talk for hours about his off-field exploits. I want you guys to understand just how good David Beckham the footballer was. To go from breaking through at the biggest team in England to becoming the superstar Galactico at the biggest team on the planet is no easy feat. Grab your pen and paper, it's time to learn the story of David Beckham from his early days all the way to his retirement at PSG so he can dispel the myth of him being an overrated footballer once and for all. David Beckham was born in 1975 and grew up in a family of die-hard United fans, despite being from London. They'd travel up and down the country to watch United, and David became infatuated with the club. After a few years at Spurs and a couple soccer schools, where he actually had the chance to train with Barcelona of all teams, he joined the club of his dreams on a youth training scheme at the age of 16. Alongside players like Scholes, Butt and the Neville brothers, United would dunk on other academy teams, the way in which the younger generation often saw from the Chelsea team during the 2010s. He played a key role in them winning the 1992 FA Youth Cup before forcing his way into the first team. Despite scoring on his Champions League debut against Galatasaray, he was hungry for more minutes and decided to go on loan to a Preston North End team that actually had David Moyes at centre-back. After bagging 2 goals in 5 games, he went back to United as Ferguson decided to freshen up the squad after Blackburn beat them to the title in 1995. From his goal on the opening day against Villa, he went from strength to strength at that right midfield spot on the way to a League and Cup double in 1996 after an insane collapse by Kevin Keegan's Newcastle. His journey to stardom took a giant leap with that iconic goal against Wimbledon from 57 yards out, where you'll notice he's actually wearing the 10 shirt. Long story short, United secured back-to-back titles and Beckham secured PFA Young Player of the Year in the process, as well as the keys to their iconic number 7 shirt. Although they finished behind Arsenal the following year, Beckham would end the season with the most assists in the league, as well as scoring 9 goals. Something special was brewing. At this point, Beckham was already a household name to the point where England manager Glenn Hoddle lambasted him for having too many distractions ahead of the '98 World Cup. So much so that he made him sit and watch the first 2 games from the bench. But as we saw from the Preston move, a very underrated aspect of Beckham's is his mentality to overcome obstacles and prove people wrong, as he came into the third game against Colombia and slapped in a trademark free kick from 30 yards. Unfortunately, from that high to the lowest of lows, he got baited by one of football's greatest villains, Diego Simeone, into lashing out and getting sent off. A head-loss moment that ultimately cost him their spot in the World Cup, and led to death threats and abuse, the likes of which we've never seen before. But it's like this guy plays the Vegeta sacrifice scene in his head, because they tried to hound him out the country afterwards, and yet this ruthless, barbaric individual said nah, and went on to catapult United to an unprecedented treble with his goals and assists. Forget PFA Young Player, this guy was now going toe-to-toe with Rivaldo for FIFA World Player of the Year. Look at the technique of the goals this guy was scoring. After winning the league on the final day, the next year, despite all the calls for him and his wife to leave, he helped them win the league by a staggering 18 points. But at some point in time, the relationship between him and Fergie became untenable. By the turn of the millennium, Beckham was such a global star that Sir Alex struggled to put up with the constant headlines and often blamed his wife for him missing training sessions for other activities. The England fans were still heckling him like them brothers outside Shrek Swamp in Shrek 1, even though he was the one that got 2 assists in their 3-2 loss to Portugal at Euro 2000. He was England's most hated, and yet United would go and win the league for a 3rd straight year, with Beckham racking up the most assists in the league again. What do you do with a guy like this? Well, England gave him the captain's armband, and United extended his contract despite the injuries and Arsenal beating them to the title again. He returned the favour by scoring the iconic free kick against Greece to drag England to the '02 World Cup, where he'd get a bit of revenge on Argentina, scoring the winner to knock them out of the tournament. However, after being eliminated by Brazil, the little injuries kept Beckham out of the United team, and the relationship with Ferguson reached a breaking point after Fergie volleyed a boot at Beckham's head during half-time of their FA Cup loss to Arsenal. There was no turning back now. After 396 games and 85 goals from right midfield and centre mid, he needed to leave England for his own good. When you're forced to leave the UK, sunny Barcelona is not a bad place to land. Or at least that's where he was meant to land in summer 2003, before Perez swooped in last minute like the mafia boss he is to hijack the deal and making the Galactico of all Galacticos. Even in pre-season, it became clear that guys like R9, Zidane and Figo were just regular guys in Asia. Everyone came to see Beckham, and Perez must have been seeing dollar signs in his eyes whilst he was sleeping. On the pitch, he's scoring their Spanish Super Cup win to start the season, and then 3 minutes into his La Liga debut too. There was some debates about how to line up Beckham and and Figo at the same time, but Carlos Queiroz, who knew Beckham from his United days, deployed him on the right side of a midfield three. But despite his early flurry of goals, the team as a whole forgot to turn the gas on the oven, and they were not cooking at all. From Queiroz to Camacho to Garcia Ramon, even Luxembourgo could not deliver on-pitch success to match everything the Galacticos were making. Beckham quietly stacked the third most assists in 2005, but again, not even a cheeky cup to show for it. Likewise at England, despite yet more free kicks and more assists at the World Cup, they were eliminated at the hands of Portugal again. When Capello arrived in Madrid, he was frozen out the team after rumours of a move to Hollywood. A month later, he was back in the team to bag another free kick against Sociedad and put on a masterclass against Bayern in 07. At long last, he picked up that La Liga medal and was back in Capello's good books. But his mind was made up, it was time to leave. In July 2007, he finally made the astonishing move to LA Galaxy, still donning that number 23 to show his love for Michael Jordan. This was a move that transcended football, a world superstar expanding his own brand in America, whilst also propelling the sport of soccer to millions of fans who previously would have rather watched Ninja Warrior on TV than any football. Even while injured, he'd command attendances that tripled existing records. Beckham finally opened his account against DC United, but the injuries halted any momentum, and all the partying had guys like Landon Donovan salty about him supposedly not caring enough about his boyhood club. Many people may not know this part, but Beckham was at Arsenal for a month to train with them and try and get his sharpness back. And it seemed to work. He scored against San Jose Earthquakes and then another 70-yard screamer, just like against Wimbledon all those years earlier. With the MLS seasons ending in December each year, he decided to join Milan on loan in January 2009 to keep fit. But 2 goals in his first 4 games and countless chances created convinced Ancelotti to extend his contract for another couple months, which meant that the LA Galaxy fans were fuming when he came back halfway through their next season. Beckham was back in America, and they got over it when they won the regular season in 2009, and again the following year, and again the year after that. LA Galaxy were now becoming the MLS powerhouse, and Beckham was playing a key role in that. It was like some sort of joint custody parenting job, where both Milan and LA Galaxy would alternate every 6 months, as Beckham showed up in Milan for a second spell in 2010, though he was still creating chances at the same rate as ever. A torn Achilles tendon forced him to miss the World Cup, and therefore the MLS season 2. When he returned, he played a crucial role in centre mid as they won the 2011 MLS Cup. The free kicks were flowing like tap water and led to back-to-back titles, this time with the most points in MLS history. He signed a new 2-year deal to show loyalty towards those that stood by him through the injuries, and after a standing ovation in his final game, he would join PSG in January 2013, donating his entire salary to a local children's charity in his last 5 months before retiring from football. Of course, as with any Hollywood story, he wore the captain's armband for his happy ending that saw him get 1 more assist as PSG went on to win the league title and chuck him in the air in celebration. To score 129 career goals in an era where wide midfielders were not tasked with scoring goals in the way that modern 4-3-3 wingers are nowadays is an impressive feat. Amidst all the uproar and turmoil of his personal life, on the pitch he would always put it to the side to deliver for all his teams and be loved by each fan base when it's eventually time to depart. He's arguably one of the most loved Englishmen in general nowadays, and his ventures over in Miami show that he really is just a lover of the beautiful game, just like you and I. He got to live in some of the best cities in the world and get paid to do something he was elite at. But it's important to remember, you don't just pick up the record for most Prem free kicks ever without years and years of practice and dedication. On the outside, it may seem easy to him as he rocks up with new hairstyles every other week for the public to copy. But when you realize just how many setbacks he faced from the very start of his career, it's impossible not to respect his game. He really had that dog in him. Hopefully you guys have learned something new today. If you did, leave a like on the video, comment what position you think Beckham would suit in today's game, and subscribe if you want me to get back to doing these lessons every Monday. Class is missed. Bosh.